Welcome to Prosperity in a Pandemic. And as always, we're bringing on guests that are making a difference during this pandemic. And today is no different. We have Lester Morales here from Next Impact. And he and I have become really good friends. And I've also been able to work with him in his business. And so thank you so much, Lester, for being on the show.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, and there's a lot I want to talk about and cover in this short time. And I want to talk about like what's going on for business during this time, and then also what you're doing, because I think even what business you're in, even before COVID-19, you're making an impact. And this show is all about prosperity. How can we help other people live a better life? And so I want to start off with, when you notice that this was when COVID-19 started to happen, and some people thought this was just going to be short-lived, but then we started to notice that, okay, this is not going away. This is going to be a long thing. What became most important for you at that point?
Yeah. So, I would tell you, Steve, it was, and you know this since we worked together, it was gambling, right? So you were trying to kind of figure out what this was going to do. Our business has a direct correlation with how many employees an employer has. So when you start thinking about the downward of the economy and unemployment increasing, it got pretty scary. But then you also had the opportunity to impact employers because you were able to do something and save them money or help them file for their PPP, or there was other things. So it was really trying not to panic and really looking at where you could add value.
Right. So just quickly looking at, okay, this is happening. Now, how can I help?
100%. Yeah.
And that's exactly what you've done, because I know we've had other conversations. So sharing on that, like, what would you say has been your biggest success during all this as you've turned towards helping? Like, what would you highlight as like a big win during all of this?
Yeah, I think it's mindset and mind shift, both personally and professionally. Because I think, you were one that taught me this, the word prosperity and abundance doesn't necessarily mean money, right? So I'll give you both. I think one personal thing that I only started doing after working with you is my personal meditation. And I think I was checking the app this morning. I have 115 days in a row of meditating. And the first time I meditated was the first class I started with you. So that's amazing. And then I think professionally, it was, this is new times. I mean, we all say the word new norm, like, that's the dropping out of our tongue so easily. But I think the excuses and the way people were thinking yesterday has to go out the window. So you and I talked about this as a strategy, but really focused on how many jobs did we save because of the money we could save people. And so it changed the focus away from being this monetary thing to being about saving a job, like saving a human being and their livelihood. So the amount of effort and work and just the overall mindset change from dollars and cents to a human life really made it seem just completely different.
Well, thank you for sharing. And let's break those into two chunks for a second. So on the meditation side, now that that's become part of your norm, which congratulations, by the way, it definitely made a huge impact on my life, because you're like me, we're like, go, and we're always like on to the next thing. And that was able for me to give me that piece to slow down and then really hear myself. And I started making new conclusions and new decisions. But I would love to hear your voice on this. So when you start, as you've meditated now, and this has become a daily routine, what does having that do for you?
Oh man, it's interesting. I've recorded LinkedIn videos about this because, and it's funny because my friends probably don't believe it, right? They're like, Morales, that guy, there's no way he's meditating as much as he is. And so I would tell you what's great about it for me is it's not a forced thing anymore. I don't try to focus on any one thing. Whatever's coming up for me in that day, I find a guided meditation. I'm still not guided, so I still can't go the unguided route. I'm still guided, But if I'm feeling a little low energy in the morning, or if I feel like I'm having anxiety in the morning, or as you know, today is a special day, my anniversary with my mom passing away this morning. I found a guided meditation about remembering your loved one. So what's been amazing, I think the thing for me is whatever's coming up at that very moment, I could lean into, as opposed to you hit it on the head. What I would do before is just work my way through it. And so I didn't think about it anymore. And so it was like one of those things you kind of shove to the side. And I can't tell you how much. Now I'm like craving meditation. Now I try to do 2 or 3 times a day. If I'm feeling stressed, I'm like, I need to get out of this situation and go think about this. And it has been a life-changing habit, and it really has.
Well, and then since we're on this during this pandemic, how specifically do you feel it's helped you during all of this going on in the world? Like how has this served you?
It's an easy word. It's clarity, right? It is the ability to knock out the noise and focus on what needs to be focused on. Because I think if you get too hyped up in social media or the real media, or this, that, or the other, and focusing in the wrong direction, I mean, shoot, if you read every article that came in your inbox, you'd spend forever doing it. And one of the things that you always preach about your energy. I mean, reading all this bad news, and what is that going to do to your energy? And then how do you show up for other people? So I think the meditation for me has been a clarity and a focus that says, in order to do the job that I want to do, which is to impact lives, I need to be my clearest self. And in order to be my clearest self, I need to be thinking about what things I need to be thinking about. And so that word clarity has been on a whole nother level with such distraction out there. Something that I think working with you, and I'll give you a lot of kudos on that, I would have been terrible at handling, because I would have just tried to put in more hours to substitute, maybe trying to slow down and be a little bit more clear.
That's beautiful to hear, and it makes a lot of sense, and I agree with you. Like, if I watched all the news, I think I would be like crawled up in the fetal position probably, because oh my gosh, where it takes you. And this allows, and I've been doing the same thing, like really checking in, and then it allows me to have the space of, okay, this is happening. I think part of life is accepting what's coming, right? So saying, okay, and now what am I going to do? And then that time with myself and what you're describing gives that clarity, so that this way then you can make new decisions without having to come from an abundance of fear, right? Because now we can actually just take action. So that's so beautiful. And speaking of that, let's go to the part 2 that you said. Now you're really focused on saving jobs, when in a wow, oh my gosh, how many people have had to do layoffs, companies closing, ones that we wouldn't even thought of. We're talking, it's all across the board. It's not like some people are saying, oh, small businesses are closing. No, big businesses are closing too. Like, it's, it is a lot of things happening. And so what would you say? So now that you're focused on that and helping companies save, enough money, or whatever avenue you're doing, but ultimately your target is on, one, helping the business continue to keep going, and thereby creating employment opportunities so that people can keep working. So with the work that you're doing there, what do you think having that has done for you?
Well, I think it's the ability to, have a mind shift change. I know a lot of people that I've talked to, and I've sat through some sales, kind of webinars and things that, hey, do I feel gross and slimy trying to sell during this time, right? And I think the reality of that, with what we cleared together with the money mindset, but then also, where are you impacting, right? So like, I know now, if maybe before, I showed somebody $1 million savings and they're like, well, I don't know that I really want to do this. And now you start doing the math. Well, $1 million savings when your average employee is making $40,000 is how many jobs you could save, right? And that's a whole different shift on even the organization, not themselves thinking about money and saving somebody's livelihood. But for me, that's the motivation I tell my team all day long. when someone's talking to a hospital about negotiating a claim, a bill, man, that extra dollar to be saved for that household in today's economy, are you kidding me? Let alone what that does to an employer and their ability to keep people employed. I mean, it's just such a huge difference. And so that little switch in getting away from what the dollar and cents and what's the representation of that dollar and cents. And then for me, making more money allows me to make sure that I keep my employees, on board. And so I know you and I talked a lot about that in the beginning. Like, holy cow! I mean, I feel that I wear that badge of honor as an employer with a lot of pride, and thinking that I've got employees that send their kids to now private schools because they're a little safer than going to public school, or whatever it might be during this pandemic. That mind shift change of, it's not just that you're sending somebody a paycheck, that you're impacting their lives. It's a whole world of difference. So it goes back to that focus and clarity.
100%. And thank you for sharing that. And it's so, for me, and this, and I'm just echoing, is that when you put the focus on what you're doing and what that is that you want to achieve, what is your mission, then you're able to then bring that forward, and the money is the means, right? That's why a long time ago, I wish I remembered who told me this, but I know it's been said by many people: no margin, no mission. And it doesn't matter if you're a nonprofit or for profit, if you're not bringing in cash flow, then it becomes unsurvivable. And so if our mission is important to us, which I'll get to in a minute, I want to hear why you do what you do, Lester, but because I think it's important. And that's why I've been so excited working with you, because we're making a difference. And then that difference funds. So then the money, and when I believe when you're doing what you're meant to do in the universe will conspire to give you what you need to keep doing what you're doing. And then that's the part of accepting it. It's like, okay, accept that this money is coming your way so you can keep doing the good thing that you're doing in the world. So there you are, helping, employees' lives, giving them better health care and all these things, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then you're also, saving jobs and creating businesses, helping those businesses be able to have the means to keep the business going and keep the people employed. It's like wins all the way around. And then you're having the funding to keep your folks employed and keep growing your mission. Now it's like, okay, this is what prosperity is. This is prosperity in a pandemic. This is helping other human beings. So kudos to you, brother, and thank you for.
Well, let me give you a correlation there, because what you might not even think about or remember, but when we were at the first retreat and we did the money mindset thing, when I sat in the money seat, and I always had a problem with my love for money. Like, I like money. I like making it. I like having it. And in my mind, I had always, previous to that, just thought, well, money solves a lot of problems, right? Your parents don't fight, what I saw, right? Your parents don't fight when dad's not spending money or mom's not spending money on things that, create that pressure. But when I sat in the money seat and looked over at me and said, it was the first time that ever came out of my mouth, money allows you to impact more lives. And I was like, I even said it, and it was like what just came out of my mouth, I'd never said it. It was a subconscious, comment. And so now to think a year and a half later that, that actually is 100% a direct correlation on the two things that now I'm able to focus my time and attention is, hey, the more money you make, the more lives you can impact. And what you're doing is impacting so many lives. It makes those two run in parallel. And it's an amazing thing. But I just had to give you kudos on that, because I remember the first time coming about that, and I said it and went like, wait, that just came out of my mouth. I never said that before. So it wasn't scripted. It wasn't planned. I didn't know what the hell I was actually going to say at that very moment. And that's what came out.
Well, and good job on trusting the first thing. Like, that's part of the lessons I learned in my life, is like, those thoughts would have been in my head and I would have buried it. And then now you like let those first words come. It even shocked your conscious level, because it is subconscious, but then it starts to become the surface level and then start making a greater impact. And this is amazing, the impact you're making. And I want to come back to that. I just want to take one pivot from this and say, So before all this was happening and this new mindset and around success, which was in great timing for what's happened in our world. When you and I met, we had no idea this was going to happen, and you've been kind of set to have a better outcome during this tough time. So I want to go back before that. Is what before this success, what was the biggest challenge? Like, I know it wasn't always this way for you. So what was maybe if you can share a little bit of what it was like before you had this mindset, and what the biggest challenge, like if you pick one,
Yeah.
that would
No,
be great.
it was. I think let's say this. It's your tagline, right? More business, more life. For me, I have been successful. I've been blessed, but as a Latin, we have immigrant, roots, if you will. I'll just outwork you. I mean, that's been when people ask, like, how have you been so successful at such a young age? Well, if you make 100 calls and I make 200 calls, I win. It's just a numbers game, right? And so
Right.
for me, I remember the time I heard you speak. I couldn't throw my credit card at you fast enough, and it was all around the notion of I've made it here. I want to make it here, but I can't do that same proportion of work, or I'm never going to have anything outside of work. And so for me, I think this has been a recognition of, if you put a little bit more focus on things that, and you've heard me say this, why do I need to pay Steve money for him to tell me, well, focus on wow clients, make sure you're protecting your energy, don't work with assholes, like all those things that I think intuitively, but when you're streaming these things together, and then you're taking, for me, I don't know that I've ever in my life taken a step back and said, nice job. Like that whole how you talk to yourself and how you celebrate victories is something small, but I think for me has been a big deal, because I don't know that I've ever allowed myself that opportunity. In fact, it would be just the opposite. It would be, if I slow down, someone's going to catch up to me, and I want to be the leader of the pack. So I need to keep going, keep going, keep going. It's just not sustainable. So that whole notion of getting everything in check so you can have a better quality of life while performing and creating an impact has been, I think, the solve for the issue of, oh my God, I can't even imagine what my life's going to be if I try to take it from here to here. I'm going to be a workaholic forever and never have kids and a family and all the things that I still want to do.
Right. I remember when I vividly can remember one of the first times we talked, and when we were having a one-to-one experience, and I said, Lester, be kind to yourself. Like, be kind to yourself, because you were like, even when you won, you were harder on yourself. It's like, the guy that comes in the locker room after winning the Super Bowl, and you're already like planning out next season, and you don't even like celebrate or pop champagne. That was, I definitely can picture that's how it's been. And so when you were that set on success at all costs, really, I mean, that's the way it comes across, right? It's like, whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. How did that affect you?
Well, I mean, it's interesting, right? So I'll look at peers of mine that are my age. I'm 40 right now. I've never been married. I don't have kids. Those are two things that I have a desire to do. And unfortunately, I've also lost both of my parents due to cancer. So, it's inevitable. And I've reflected on this a lot today, because it's something that I really do take from this is, are you spending the time, the quality time with the people in your life? Because, I can tell you firsthand that, that whole thing that tomorrow is not guaranteed is a damn truth. And so, I think that that's the biggest thing right now. Of, if I could reflect back, I have to be proud of myself for doing the things that I've had, and taking the leap of faith and betting on me and putting in the effort. But it's been at the expense of, probably quality time with other people. Two of which that I can't, there's no mulligan, right? There, you can't hit a mulligan on people that aren't here anymore. And so it is something I reflect on and I think about all the time. And it's something I struggle with. I mean, it is something that I focus on trying to be okay with. Of, you would make a lot of decisions differently if you could, but you can't. So how do you learn from that and be a better person tomorrow? So that would be the thing that I would say has been the sacrifice, is just, making sure you're spending the quality time and living every day like tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
Right. And that is a big part, is like, live now. I'm not a fan of retirement in the perception of what's been when we were growing up. It was like, work your ass off, and then at some old age you'll be able to like go relax. And that's just not okay. Like you said, then okay, now you're retired and your parents are gone. Like that, we don't get those years back. So I want to live and work. I want to do the good work on the planet that I'm meant to do, but I also want to live. So thank you so much for sharing. Just to give context, I think this comes into your mission, like why you're doing this, because you mentioned both your parents. And today, if it wasn't clear enough, and I didn't know this when I invited Lester today, I just happened to be live every Tuesday now. And then I was like, can you do this Tuesday? And he said, yes. And then I found out that this is the anniversary of your mom passing away 3 years ago. And and I'm getting tingles saying this right now. I know that there's like a reason that we're having this interview today. And so the thing about this is, your business is, we were talking about saving jobs and all of that, but we're talking about saving lives. And so can you just share like your mission and the business you're in, and how it didn't serve your family, and that's why you're here to make a difference, if you will. I
Yep.
know it's a
Yeah.
sensitive
No.
subject, but
I am a employee benefits advisor, and that sounds like a generic term, but for so long I did it the way everybody else did, thinking on a very big stage. I worked for the third largest company in the world and was the chief growth officer of all of North. I mean, I had 200 people, ran a $350 million practice, and when I was 15 years old, my dad was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. We had to file bankruptcy when I was 17 because the medical bills were too high. And both my parents had medical insurance, and they had it through their job. And so you think, well, wait a second, you have this insurance, you've got this protection, but what family, when you have $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a year out of pocket expenses, what family has $20,000 in the bank when you're trying to raise two kids and send them to baseball camp and buy them the new pair of Jordans and do all the things that wonderful parents like I had try to do? So, when my mom got diagnosed, and so fast forward, my dad passes away in March of 2012, and mom got diagnosed in 2014. I'm like, what's going on? And the challenges of, she had pancreatic cancer, and the challenges of, are you allowed to go here? Are you allowed to do this? Who can we talk to? She was a nurse. My brother's in the business. I'm in the business. We were very educated users, and it's still super confusing to navigate the healthcare system. There's so many rules, and there's not somebody there to advocate this. So you start to learn what the Walmarts and Amazons of the world are doing. You start to realize, well, wait a second, you could do that very widespread. And so that's what my journey of being an entrepreneur has been, is to design healthcare programs that assign an advocate, a concierge, but really it rewards people by waiving their costs. So people on our plans have free healthcare when they just talk to the advocate to know that the cost and quality of different healthcare facilities is different. And so when you're actually thinking about where healthcare should and could be accessed, you could save a ton of money. And so the mission, Steve, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's no coincidence on what I wake up every day fired to do. We were a product of a badly designed healthcare system that has no incentives to actually lower their cost. What a health insurance company calls their revenue, we call premium. So last time I checked, no company wants to lower their revenue. So what makes us think that the health insurance company wants to lower their premium? It just doesn't make sense. And so it's what I wake up every day. It's obviously on a day like today, I can't help but think, hopefully mom and dad are up there smiling about what's going on, because we are making a change. and things are working. So I get to honor my parents while also, obviously making a few dollars in the meantime as well.
And then that feeds you to keep living your mission, right? So the more money you have, the more units of choice you have to help people, and it's okay to live a good life. There's no reason to be guilty of having prosperity. And then not only that, your whole prosperity is helping other people. And just to be clear, what I've learned from you, yeah, go ahead.
Steve, I want to show you. So you taught me this, and it's on my phone as one of my biggest impacts. So my 3 goals, the one that says impact, be grateful for my life and demonstrate that gratefulness by hosting and impacting other people. And so it's one of the things that I look at on my phone every time I turn it on for that same reason. Like if I can, have success and recognize that I should be grateful for that success. And one of those ways you're grateful is by showing other people, and helping and impacting other people. It's not something that I ever drew correlations to, but it absolutely makes everything a hell of a lot more worth it. That's for sure.
And I thank you for reiterating that and confirming that, and then also having that on your phone, because it just reminds us why we're doing what we're doing. And I think so many people before us, even Simon Sinek says all the time, start with your why, because then it really puts everything there in and puts it in purpose. And you've done that, and you're helping folks have no out of pocket for their healthcare, being able to make more choices. And then you're also saving companies money so they can keep their folks employed right now during this time. The combination is like, wow, it's really helping a lot of people. And a couple more things before, we have just a little bit of time left, and I have a few more questions here. Just so as I do this show, I want to show that people are from all over, that this works from all different kinds of businesses and all that. So just to add this to the story, where are you located in the world?
I am in San Juan, Puerto Rico right now. I was born here, raised in the States, and came back to run a business for the purpose of impact. I get to hire people here in Puerto Rico and put them, give them employment, which is sparking the economy down here. And there's incentives to do so. So I get to come back to my homeland and make a real impact.
It's beautiful, like everything. And that's the name of your business, Next Impact. And you're doing it everything you touch is making an impact, from employers to employees to where you live. So so amazing, something that should be celebrated, for sure. And my last couple of questions, this one, I'm just curious, since we only have so much time, what's one thing of us working together, because I know you brought that up several times, like what's one thing that you can say has made the greatest impact? Like, so if we were to give a little bit of insight to what others could possibly choose to do to have success as you have, what would be the one thing that you would think is important for them to know?
I'll go personal and I'll go professional, because although I think I was hiring a business coach, I got more of a personal coach, I think, for me, which obviously now hindsight 2020 is obviously something that I needed. So for me, I think it was slow down, between the meditation, between thinking of things. I wrote down lists, I wrote down goals, but I've never sat there and visualized a goal. I've never visualized it to the level that you've made us visualize it. Like, not just think of the house you want to live in. What's it look like? What's it smell like? Who's around you? Who do you want to hang out with? Who are the clients that helped you get there? Who do they like? What do they do? I mean, all of those things, I think most people probably know at the surface level. Make goals. And if you make goals, you're more likely to do them. But that answer of making goals has 19 things underneath it that most people don't do, which is why New Year's resolutions never work, right? And so I think personally for me, whether it's been fitness, relationships, or all the things that I have personally wanted to do, us working together has made me take that focus and boil the number of things down to 3, which I see on my phone 800 times. I turn on my phone every day. And they're around my business, my personal relationships, and impacting the world. And so those 3 things are what I try to focus on every single day. Professionally, it has been the fear of being completely 100% transparent as to who you want to work with. So before, for me, it was, oh my God, if I say something too offensive or too pushy over here, I might not get that big firm over there. And you taught me, dude, don't worry about that. Focus on the 20 people that make the difference. Everything else will work out the same. And it has, I mean, almost instantly, the day you start throwing out into the universe, these are the types of people that I want to work with. Those people start raising their hand and saying, hey, I want to work with you too. And it's like, wait, people raise their hand and say they want to work with you? And that's amazing. All I had to do was say it out loud. And so those things are, again, are duh moments, right? They're things that you're like, I pay money for this, but it has been unbelievable to see the personal transformation, because I can tell you 100% I am a different person, the business transformation, but then also being part of a group and seeing the transformation in other people. Because half the time I got more coaching out of listening to them and you working with them than I did even us working together. So the culmination of it all has just been phenomenal, and I'm super grateful for it.
I appreciate you too, brother. And I don't think there's any coincidences why people come into each other's lives. And, so just to echo back, and then we'll have to wrap up here, but, just having, that clarity, that big word that you said, and then allowing you to focus on what you wanted and then bring that around you. And being able to shift that mindset internally to give yourself space to slow down, and then that also leads to the clarity. That slowing down gives you more visual, so that you could have that eagle eye and look. Because if you're just flying 100 as fast as you can't slow down enough to see. So I think those would be the high levels, the takeaway for those out there listening. Start thinking about those things. And I just want to share, like, the reason we're doing this show is because we want to share more stories like you have, Lester. And so I appreciate you doing that. And we're going to help more people too. So I'm also doing a free webcast, a 90-minute webcast called Wow Client Webcast, how to grow business during any economy. And we're going to go deeper into some of the tactics you brought up on how do we focus on wow clients, because right away you think, oh, that means I'm going to have less clients. But the reality is we actually can have more abundance when we put that focus, and we prove it in the webcast. And I'm doing that absolutely free because that's our give back. This show, all the things I'm doing online is so that we can help more people prosper. So this is a huge deal, Lester, for you to take the time and share this with everyone. And I wish I could keep talking to you more, but like, we're going to keep this to 30-minute show. We're already like 33 minutes. So I can't thank you enough, Lester. Thank you for coming on here and sharing your story. And on the anniversary of your mom passing, thank you for being open to share and vulnerable. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. I appreciate you. And I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for me.
You're welcome, Lester. And I wish you all the best as you move forward with all the navigation, what you're going for. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Prosperity in a Pandemic. And we're live every Tuesday at 2:15 Pacific time. And we'll see you next week.